to ask the important questions. I have to agree. Why no screens for Caitlin Clark? Ain't that what I just said? Why no screens for Caitlin Clark? No plays designed for her. Isolated, ignored. Steph challenges for everyone except Cece, even though she's fouled every she's fouled every possession, making Cece the fourth option, the most lethal offensive engine. Now, I believe that the Indiana Fever has the number one offense in all of the.
For months, the conversation around Caitlin Clark has centered on opponents, injuries, physical defense, and expectations. But suddenly, a completely different storyline has taken over the Indiana Fever. This time, the spotlight is not on Caitlin Clark's jump shot, her passing, or her scoring records. The spotlight is on Christie Sides, because every time the Indiana Fever stumble, every time Caitlin Clark disappears from stretches of the offense, every time fans question the direction of the franchise, Christie Sides seems to post another smiling photo, another vacation update. Another reminder that she's living comfortably while the controversy grows louder. That is why fans have begun connecting dots. Linn Dunn helped build this version of the Fever. Stephanie White inherited a roster headlined by Caitlin Clark. Expectations skyrocketed. Championship dreams became realistic. Yet instead of seeing Caitlin Clark unleashed as the centerpiece of the offense, many fans believe they are watching a system that minimizes the most electrifying player in women's basketball. The frustration isn't coming from one loss. It's coming from a pattern. A pattern where Caitlin Clark often appears disconnected from possessions. A pattern where the offense slows down. A pattern where opponents seem increasingly comfortable forcing the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands because they know what comes next. And hovering over all of it is Christie Sides. The former Fever coach who was blamed for so many of Indiana's struggles now appears to be watching from afar while fans revisit every criticism they once aimed directly at her. The irony is impossible to ignore. Because the louder the criticism becomes for Stephanie White and Linn Dunn, the better Christie Sides starts to look. And that may be the biggest troll of all.
I don't know if Christie Sides might have contacted Lisa Bluter. Probably not, because a lot of these pro coaches feel like they're better than these college coaches on so many levels, but it is what it is. But I tell you, one person that definitely need to pick up the phone right now and call Lisa Bluter, and that is Stephanie White. Stephanie White need to get on her phone immediately and call Lisa Bluter, because as of right now, the Caitlin Clark we known breaking scoring records in college, that Caitlin Clark gone. Caitlin Clark is left at home in a...
That criticism cuts directly to the heart of the debate. When Caitlin Clark arrived from Iowa, she wasn't merely a talented rookie. Caitlin Clark was a transformational player. She was a player capable of bending defenses before crossing half court. She was a player whose passing opened the floor for everyone else. She was a player who turned ordinary possessions into highlights. Yet critics now argue that the Indiana Fever offense often looks disconnected from those strengths. The comparison to Iowa keeps surfacing because Caitlin Clark's greatest weapon has never been scoring alone. It has always been decision-making. The speed at which Caitlin Clark processes the floor. The way Caitlin Clark manipulates defenders. The way Caitlin Clark creates advantages before defenses even realize they are vulnerable. When those instincts are fully utilized, teammates thrive. When those instincts are restricted, the entire offense can feel slower. That is why Stephanie White has become the center of scrutiny. Many fans expected Stephanie White to build an offense around Caitlin Clark's unique abilities. Instead, critics believe Stephanie White has imported concepts from previous teams that don't maximize what Caitlin Clark does best. And once those frustrations started building, Linn Dunn inevitably became part of the conversation. Because Linn Dunn helped shape the organizational vision. Every offensive struggle, every stagnant possession. Every game where Caitlin Clark appears less involved than expected. Those moments now fuel questions about whether the franchise truly understands the magnitude of the player it possesses. What makes this situation even more dramatic is that Christie Sides remains attached to every comparison. The more people question Stephanie White, the more they revisit the Christie Sides era. The more they revisit the Christie Sides era, the more they wonder whether some criticism was misplaced. And suddenly the narrative begins shifting, not because Christie Sides is coaching games, but because the current situation is causing fans to reevaluate everything.
Stephanie White system maximizes Alyssa Thomas, but suffocates Caitlin Clark, a tactical breakdown. With Coach White now steering the ship in Indiana, the discourse around her offensive philosophy is reaching a boiling point. To understand why her scheme looks so radical, Then it goes on to say, so far, the results do not support maximizing AB. Rather, it is maximizing dribble out the clock.
This is where the debate becomes fascinating. Every coach has a preferred system. Every coach has a vision for how basketball should be played. The challenge arises when a system collides with a generational talent. History is filled with examples. The greatest coaches didn't simply force stars into rigid structures. They adapted, they adjusted, they evolved. That is why Caitlin Clark presents such a unique challenge. Caitlin Clark is not a traditional point guard. Caitlin Clark is not a traditional shooter. Caitlin Clark is not a traditional playmaker. She is all three at once. Defenses fear Caitlin Clark's range. They fear Caitlin Clark's passing. They fear Caitlin Clark's ability to speed up the game. When opponents devote enormous resources to stopping Caitlin Clark, the offense should theoretically become easier for everyone else. But critics argue that Indiana has struggled to consistently exploit those advantages. That criticism has intensified because fans believe Caitlin Clark is often forced to play within a framework that reduces her spontaneity. Instead of constant movement, they see stagnant possessions. Instead of creative actions, they see predictability. Instead of maximizing Caitlin Clark's instincts, they see a system trying to control them. Whether that perception is fair or not, it has become a major talking point. And every time Indiana loses, those concerns grow louder. Meanwhile, Christie Sides continues posting content that many interpret as subtle commentary. No direct statements, no interviews attacking the franchise, no public feuds, just timing, just photos. Just enough ambiguity to make fans wonder. That uncertainty keeps fueling speculation because it creates the appearance that Christie Sides is silently watching the criticism move from her shoulders onto others. And for frustrated Fever supporters, that perception is impossible to ignore.
For you, those of you guys who might not know, now Christie Sides did not take none of the Fever stuff down. She left it all up. Why did she do this? She left it all up for a reason. This is Christie Sides during a happier moment. There with Linn Dunn. You feel me? Right, sitting right next to her. You know, love my people. What are they? I wonder if we asked Christie Sides that same question, would she have the same answer? I don't know. But this was from today. She said, day trip on the Dolphin Island, Barry. Fun.
At first glance, social media posts might seem harmless, but context changes everything. When Christie Sides posts while the Fever are under intense scrutiny, many fans interpret it as a message. Not necessarily an intentional message, but a message nonetheless. And that's where the trolling narrative emerged. Because Christie Sides appears relaxed, unbothered, free from the pressure currently surrounding Stephanie White and Linn Dunn. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever face enormous expectations. Caitlin Clark has become one of the most valuable athletes in sports. Every national television appearance matters. Every attendance number matters. Every playoff race matters. Every decision involving Caitlin Clark matters. That creates pressure unlike anything most WNBA franchises have experienced. If the Fever fail to maximize Caitlin Clark, criticism won't disappear. It will intensify. If Caitlin Clark continues facing defensive schemes without consistent offensive adjustments, criticism will intensify. If Indiana underperforms relative to expectations, scrutiny will intensify. And at that point, conversations about Stephanie White and Linn Dunn could become significantly louder. The most remarkable part of this entire story is that Christie Sides isn't actively participating in the debate. Yet somehow Christie Sides remains at the center of it. Every Fever struggle creates another comparison. Every comparison creates another discussion. Every discussion raises another question. Was Christie Sides blamed for problems that still exist today, or are the current issues entirely different? That question may define the rest of Indiana's season.